Matt Brown tests positive for COVID-19. Out of Barberena fight at UFC on ESPN 31. Welterweight veteran Matt Brown is out of his UFC on ESPN 31 fight with Bryan Barberena after testing positive for COVID-19. The Immortal himself announced the news on social media Tuesday. "Shitty day today. I tested positive for COVID, so my fight next weekend is off," Brown said on Twitter. Brown later tweeted that he had been sick over the weekend, but was now feeling better. "I was sick as hell over the weekend, but I'm feeling much better now. Today I lost my smell. I went for a jog outside today and my lungs burned a little. I thought it was just the cold air, but maybe I'm still sick," he explained. "I'll get over it quickly and move on." Brown last fought in June when he knocked out Diego Lima to end a 2-fight losing streak. Since 2019, he's gone 2-2 with only one of those fights, a loss to Carlos Condit, going the distance. Barberena is 1-3 in his last 4 fights and is coming off a loss to Jason Witt earlier this year at UFC Vegas 33. That fight was a majority decision, and it was named Fight of the Night. There has been no word on whether the UFC will look for a replacement for Brown or try to reschedule the fight for a later date. Ex-UFC fighter accused of punching security in Las Vegas casino. According to an arrest report released Tuesday, a former UFC fighter was arrested after urinating inside a Las Vegas casino and punching a security guard. When security guards at Caesars Palace tried to speak with Anthony Rocco Martin, 31, shortly after midnight Saturday, he refused to show his driver's license and became very irate, according to Metropolitan Police Department. Security guards attempted to remove Martin from the casino, and according to the report, Martin punched a security guard in the throat. According to the report, detectives reviewed security footage and discovered Martin urinated in a hallway and punched a security guard. Martin, who lives in Las Vegas, told Metro that he was racially profiled. Police believe he was under the influence of alcohol. After nearly 7 years with the UFC, Martin announced in January that he was a free agent. According to court records, he was imprisoned on charges of battery and lewd conduct in a public place. A hearing has been set for January 19th. Colby Covington claims Jorge Masvidal is jealous of him. Colby Covington and Jorge Masvidal went from being best friends to mortal enemies, and Covington claims it was due to jealousy on Masvidal's part. "The more the two fighters talk about each other, the closer we are to a fight between them. As a co-headliner on a PBPV card, a fight between Masvidal and Covington would settle extremely well. Covington is coming off of a 5-round fight for the welterweight title against Kamaru Usman. In a razor-thin decision, he gave Usman the closest fight of his UFC career. Gamebred, on the other hand, is coming off a devastating knockout loss at the hands of the Nigerian Nightmare. Masvidal was knocked out for the first time in his career. Both fighters will need multiple wins to re-enter the title picture, so it makes sense to match them up so they can settle their bad blood. We were best friends, inseparable, lived together for a couple of years. Just friends for almost a decade," Covington told MMA News. "Do you think we'd actually say these things about each other in the media? If I see him in the streets, he'll almost certainly be dropped on his head and taken to the hospital. He's not going to be able to afford his hospital bills. I want the UFC to pay for them when I beat him in the octagon, so I don't want to have to do it in the streets." But James, this is a personal battle. As the UFC puts it, this is as real as it gets. And anyone who thinks we're still friends, man, I'm not sure what they're thinking. They must be high on weed or something. But as soon as I surpassed him and began to achieve greater success than him, he became jealous. He began making comments in the media for no apparent reason, such as, "Oh, that crotch sniffer. What are you talking about, bro? Oh, I'd fight my mother," he says. But that isn't the case. Like, man, we could do this so much better than this. He had the potential to be a better person, but it only revealed his true colors, James. It revealed him to be the little thug that he is. Khabib Nurmagomedov named the lightweight fighter who hit him the hardest in his UFC career, and it's not Conor McGregor or Dustin Poirier. Khabib Nurmagomedov claims Justin Gaethje hits like a truck and is harder than any opponent he has faced in the UFC. The Eagle retired from MMA with a perfect 29-0 record after dominating Gothe on Fighting Island on October 2020. Khabib already effectively cleaned out the best in the heavyweight division, having previously choked out Conor McGregor and Dustin Poirier. Although the world had hoped to see Tony Ferguson face the Russian, he never shied away from a challenge and faced some of the biggest punchers ever seen in the 155-pound division. Nobody hit me harder than Justin Gothe. His kick, his punch, his left hook, right uppercut. I make him hit me, you know? When I go to the cage and I was sitting like, okay, I'm going to go. I'm going to bring him into the deep ocean. I'm going to make him tired and stand up, and I'm going to bring him on the ground and finish him. Ben Askren calls out Nate Diaz for UFC fight. Would be happy to be the last fight on his contract. Former UFC welterweight Ben Askren has challenged Nate Diaz to a fight, stating that he would be happy to be the last fight on his contract. Askren announced retirement from the UFC after defeats to Jorge Masvidal and Damian Maia, citing lingering injury issues. Following his retirement, Askren returned to combat sports and boxing, where he was knocked out earlier this year by Jake Paul. We haven't heard much from Askren about fighting again since then, but it appears that Funky wants to return to combat sports, perhaps in the UFC, and he has a specific opponent in mind. Askren tweeted on Tuesday to call out Diaz after the two had a back and forth the day before. Askren had stated that he thought Paul was a good boxer, which prompted Diaz to respond by telling Askren that he knows nothing about boxing. According to Askren, he agrees with Diaz that his boxing abilities are lacking. Askren, on the other hand, wants Diaz to know that his MMA skills aren't up to par. It will be interesting to see what comes out of this. Askren is currently retired from the UFC, so he would have to go through the USADA testing pool before rejoining the active UFC roster. As for Diaz, as Askren stated, he only has one fight remaining on his UFC contract, and it's difficult to believe the UFC would give him Askren for that final fight. However, if this is the fight that the fans want, it is possible that it will be scheduled. Do you want to see Ben Askren fight against Nate Diaz? Nate Diaz calls out Jake Paul's boxing wins. You'd get smoked in a real fight. On Tuesday, Diaz fought back against Paul for compromising him to Ben Askren, continuing a conversation that began when Askren suggested that the infamous YouTuber is better at boxing than some give him credit for. After combining his social media fame into a professional boxing career that has included victories over former ONE champion title holder Askren and former UFC champion Tyron Woodley, Paul has become one of the most divisive names in combat sports. Diaz is unconcerned about Askren's accomplishments, tweeting that he sucks and that Paul would get smoked in a real fight. Diaz's response was specifically directed at Paul's comment that Diaz has 6 times as many professional losses as Askren, despite the fact that Diaz is pointing out that Askren and Woodley are better known for their wrestling abilities than their striking. We will be back again with the latest breaking news about UFC very soon, so don't forget to hit the subscribe button and click that bell icon to get notified in the future. Thanks. Have a good day.